I never imagined a 3-foot cedar fence could spark a war, but that's life under the Timber Ridge HOA, where petty grievances grow faster than crabgrass. My lake house had been in my family for 40 years. Long before the subdivision, long before the self-appointed tyrants with clipboards and matching golf carts. When my dad died, the house became mine, and all I wanted was to restore it and enjoy the lake the way we used to. The fence wasn't even meant to cause trouble. It marked the property line so my dog Scout wouldn't wander. But the HOA claimed it violated visual harmony. Regulations, a phrase they weaponized. Like a court order. They demanded I remove it. I ignored them. They escalated. I countered. They fined me. I refused to pay. The letters became threats. Then final warnings. Then legal jargon about mandatory compliance. Still, I didn't think they'd actually do it. Then I came home one Friday and saw bulldozer tracks in the soil. The fence was gone. My deck was smashed. Part of the siding on the lakeside was ripped open like a tin can. A demolition crew stood around drinking sodas, shrugging when I yelled. "We're just following HOA orders," one said. Said the structure violated setback boundaries. Structure? They treated my family home like it. Was a shed somebody nailed. Together during halftime of a football game. The HOA president, Martin Hale, never even showed up. He sent an email the next day. Smug and sterile. All actions were within HOA rights. Further resistance will result in additional fines. Fines. They bulldozed my house and talked about fines. I didn't sleep that night. I paced the torn-up yard, staring at the lake, fists trembling. Then I noticed something I'd forgotten even existed. An old concrete hatch near the water line, half buried under weeds. My dad used to say it led to a service tunnel the original farmers used for irrigation before the lake was expanded. I pried it open. Inside was a rusted valve wheel the size of a manhole cover, connected to pipes running, straight out beneath the lake. And across the ridge, the same ridge where Martin Hale's family owned a massive cornfield that brought in 7 figures annually. A field that depended entirely on the HOA-managed water pump, which, according to old property records, pulled from the same line this valve controlled. I stood in the dark, the lake water lapping gently behind me, and felt something settle in my chest, something cold, calm, and justified. If the HOA wanted a war, they were about to get one. I gripped the valve, and I began to turn. The next morning, the first thing I heard wasn't birds or the rumble of boats on the lake. It was shouting, panicked. Angry shouting drifting across the ridge like fire on the wind. I brewed coffee and stepped onto what was left of my deck. From there, I had a perfect view of Martin Hale's pride and joy, his golden, sprawling, impeccably symmetrical cornfield. Only now it wasn't golden. Patches were already turning a sickly gray-green, curling at the edges from lack of irrigation. The high-pressure sprinklers stood motionless, dry as bones. A smile tried to form on my face, but I kept it steady. Revenge isn't about joy. It's about balance. Around mid-morning, Martin came speeding down the gravel road on his ATV like a hornet on wheels. He peeled into my driveway, dust spraying everywhere. His face was red enough to match the stop, signs he loved installing around the neighborhood. "You know anything about the irrigation outage?" He barked, not even dismounting. I took a slow sip of coffee. "Morning to you too, Martin." He wasn't amused. Water flow dropped to 0 overnight. "0! The pump's fine. The sensors are fine. That means someone tampered with the main line." "Sounds serious." "It is serious," he snapped. "That field supplies half of our community's budget. If the crop dies, dues triple. And we'll have to reevaluate non-essential restoration funds." His gaze swept over my damaged house, clearly implying I was now non-essential. I shrugged. "Maybe you should check the original farm infrastructure. Some of those valves are ancient." The way his jaw twitched told me he had no idea old infrastructure even existed. He stormed off, leaving me with a cloud of dust and satisfaction. By noon, HOA trucks, county technicians, and even a couple of hired specialists were crawling all over the ridge, digging, scanning, arguing. They traced the irrigation line all the way to the lakeshore, but not to the hatch. The vegetation hid it too well. My dad's stealthy craftsmanship had outsmarted them from beyond the grave. Meanwhile, the temperature climbed. Corn wilted. The local news helicopter even flew over once. no doubt curious about the sudden agricultural emergency. I watched, arms crossed, feeling the delicious irony. They bulldozed my house without hesitation, destroyed memories, timber, and trust. Now nature was bulldozing back, courtesy of a single valve they didn't even know existed. By sunset, Martin returned, exhausted and frantic. "We can't find the blockage," he said through clenched teeth. "If you know anything at all, you need to tell me." I met his stare with the calm of someone finally in control. "Funny," I said. "That's exactly what I told you before you bulldozed my home." By the third day of drought, the cornfield looked like a battlefield. Stalks drooped. Leaves crisped. The green that once blanketed the ridge now resembled sunburnt straw. The HOA board, those clipboard crusaders who once strutted around enforcing mailbox height. Regulations were unraveling faster than the crops. They called an emergency meeting at the community lodge. Even though I wasn't technically invited, I showed up anyway, sitting in the back with a notebook and the same coffee mug. I used the morning of the irrigation fiasco. The room was buzzing with tension. "We need answers, Martin," shouted Linda, the treasurer. "Our reserve budget can't survive a total crop loss." "Your crop loss?" someone muttered loudly. The accusations began flying. Mismanagement, negligence, failure to oversee irrigation maintenance. A few homeowners even suggested Martin orchestrated the outage himself for insurance fraud, an idea he shot down with a dramatic outburst that only made him look guiltier. "You people are unbelievable!" Martin yelled. "This isn't my fault." "Whose fault is it then?" I asked calmly from the back. Silence fell like a dropped brick. Every head turned toward me. Martin bristled. "You have no right to be here." "Sure I do," I said. "You bulldozed my living room. I think that buys me a seat." A few chuckles rippled through the crowd, small but enough to infuriate him. I continued. "Let me get this straight. You destroyed my house over a fence you claimed violated visual standards. Yet your multi-million-dollar cornfield, your actual cash cow, relies on a single water line you never inspected, never reinforced, never even mapped. And now that it's failing, you want everyone else to pay for your incompetence?" Linda folded her arms. "He's not wrong," Martin sputtered. "This is sabotage. Deliberate sabotage." "On whose part?" I asked. "Mine? Do you have proof? Or did your bulldozer run over that too?" Several homeowners snorted. The room was shifting, away from fear and toward fury, but not at me. They pressed Martin for answers, demanding accountability. He deflected, ranted, blamed everyone from the original. Farmers to the weather to unregistered water activity, whatever that meant. For the first time, people saw the truth. Martin didn't lead the HOA. He bullied it. The board called a recess, leaving the room in disarray. People circled around me, some apologizing for the HOA's actions, others whispering rumors that Martin had pushed things too far for years. Selective enforcement, backdoor deals, favoritism. The cracks weren't just showing now, they were spreading, and I knew exactly how to widen them. That night, under a sky as clear as polished glass, I made my way back to the hatch. The metal was cold beneath my hands, the wheels stiff from disuse. I had a choice now. I could keep the water off and let the HOA crash and burn, or I could use the situation to secure something more lasting. Revenge is satisfying. But leverage? Leverage is permanent. I left the valve closed for the moment and returned home, where I drafted a proposal more meticulous than anything the HOA had ever produced. I detailed the damage they caused, the illegal demolition, the violation of property rights, the emotional distress, and the cost, every splinter. Board and beam of my lake house, fully restored at their expense. I even added a clause demanding Martin's immediate resignation. By sunrise, I hand-delivered the packet to the HOA board members before their emergency follow-up meeting. They looked exhausted, pale from stress and half-sleep. When they opened the proposal, their eyes widened. "This is extortion," Martin snapped. "It's a settlement," I replied. "Because if this goes to court, the irrigation line becomes Exhibit A, and I guarantee a judge won't look kindly on unauthorized demolitions, murmurs, uneasy shifting. Someone whispered, "He's got us." Linda, the treasurer, read through the documents carefully. "If we deny this and the crop dies, we're ruined. If we agree, the house gets rebuilt. and we stabilize finances. Martin slammed his fist on the table. We are not giving in. Linda exhaled sharply. Martin, you bulldozed his house over a fence. He violated HOA rules. He built a fence. You destroyed a home. Silence. It was over for him long before he realized it. A vote was taken, 6-1. Martin was removed as president immediately. Several homeowners escorted him out when he tried to protest. Linda approached me after the vote. If we agree to your terms, can the irrigation be restored? I nodded. Within the hour? Then we have a deal. I walked back to the lakeshore, opened the hatch, and slowly turned the valve. The pipes groaned. Water surged. Moments later, sprinklers across the ridge burst back to life, spraying arcs of silver into the morning air. A cheer rose in the distance. Justice, clean and simple. A month later, my lake house was fully rebuilt, stronger, better, and officially protected from HOA interference. Martin, last I heard, he sold the cornfield and moved 3 counties away. As for me, I rebuilt my fence first, right where it belonged.